officials of government, GPFA Board of Directors, our foreign and invited guests, colleagues, ladies, and gentlemen, good evening to us all. I feel a sense of great joy in welcoming you all to the 13th edition of GPFA's Feminist Lecture Series called Story. This event is hosted 2 to 3 times a year, and today is the first series for the year 2024. The purpose of hosting a feminist lecture series of Story is to educate, inspire, and provide a space to rewrite the narrative of the history of our country and continent, that women and girls are great contributors to our society. For today's 13th Feminist Lecture Series, the discussion will be held on the intergenerational leadership, a conversation on the leadership of women and girls. It feels so good to live in a world where women and girls are not performing duties in their homes, but assuming leadership roles in homes, schools, offices, and the communities, and are making relevant decisions that affect changes in the lives of others in their spaces where they found themselves. The women of today are sitting at tables, speaking their minds, and commanding the respect of the male counterparts who thought that they are incapable of such. So today we are going to be talking about women and girls who are leaders of different generations in different fields, their challenges, and the methods used to overcome these challenges. For this discussion, we have with us today our panelists, Dr. Rumel Elton, President, Cotton University, we have Ms. Vicky June, E. Woto, founder of the Initiative for Youth Empowerment and Economic Development. We have Ms. Stephen Dennis, Chief Financial Officer, Sharks Incorporated. Ms. Princess Nicole Blamo, Sustainable Project and Program Manager and GPFA Visionary Kingdom Board member. Ms. Ethel Harris, our youngest 11-year student of the Cotton campus, GPFA Scholar, and Vice President of the Student Government of the Cotton campus. Our dynamic and visionary founder and President 2011 Nobel Peace Laureate, Madam Lima will moderate the discussion. Once again, thank you all for coming to GPFA's 13th Feminist Lecture Series, our History 2024. Thank you and welcome. I will call on our founder and president. Please give her a
Thank you, Ms. Brett. Just before we go into our conversation today, I'm really very excited that we have these amazing young women and then my amazing senior Spartan. And you always keep hearing me reference my senior Spartan. I'll go up, I'll talk about it. But just a few notes about GPFA and upcoming events. For those of you who haven't been following us, we understand that some people have a lot of misconceptions about what we do, that we've been hearing questions of whether it's only through connections that people can get on our scholarship, that this feminist lecture series is it by paying fees to enter. All of GPFA's events are free. So upcoming events, and we're looking for one person to serve as research assistant. So we're doing a survey on climate education to assess the level of climate education in Liberia. And it's going to be for Montserrat and Marquette counties. So we're looking for one research assistant. So anybody here who knows write very well, and they have some ideas about research, you can just go in the back and write your name down and say, I'm interested. The second program we have coming up is our Feminist Policy Lab. It's going to run for 9 months, between 9 months to a year. This year, our Feminist Policy Lab is in Vaughan County, so we've been encouraging young women in Vaughan County to apply, because it's to learn how to write, how to research, and at the end of it, you're going to do a policy brief that we can use on some of the issues affecting women in Vaughan County. So again, if you know someone in Vaughan County who is willing and ready to learn and to write and to do other things, write their names in the back so that they can apply, because we'll soon be closing the application thing. This year, our Peace Through Fair Play Youth Camp, every year, I have the honor of taking 50 young children from different counties to do Peace Through Fair Play Camp. We've been to Guam, we've done Nimba, but for children from Grand Jida and Nimba. We've done Cape Mount, but for children from Bomi and Cape Mount, we've done Bassa. For children from Riverside and Bassa, we did Margui. A few years ago, we've done Montserrado. If I'm leaving out any county, you'll remind me. So this year, we're going to Lofa. And we're going to live in Lofa and spend time with 50 young people in Lofa, teaching them peace, justice, fair play, and everything. So PTFP will be coming up July, second week of July this year. This year we are increasing the number of our scholarship recipients. To date we have 100 and somebody help me with the number, 30 something, Jimu, 20 something. So 127 scholars on our scholarship program. We're increasing our number to 200. Yay! As of September, so definitely we have funds to increase the number of students. Starting from September, our application for scholarship will open in July. We encourage people to apply. We don't make any connection for you to go to any university in Liberia. You have to go past. If you're already in school and you're having challenges and your grades are exceptionally good, come and we can see what we can do if you apply. But again, no one will charge you. If you follow on our Facebook page, the portal will open in July and you can apply. We also have something we call our Children's Fund, and it is a fund that we have for young people who are struggling to pay their school fees but are doing exceptionally well. So if you're about to graduate, you can't find anybody to pay your school fees and things are really tough, we do that. If you know of a Liberian struggling in some other country about to be deported, within our means, we can do it without promising $10,000, $15,000 because it got to go around, or something small, high school, all of those things. So our Children's Fund, so the application, our Children's Fund, right now application is open, so anybody can apply if you're having difficulty, you need emergency grant. Especially if you got a full year scholarship to go out of the country to study, but you got money for air ticket. If you show us all of the documentation, we can help you with that. We've been doing it. Several years ago, we started, and one of the most amazing things was a few weeks back, going to the U.S. Embassy to do a presentation. This young man was sitting there and raised his hand and said, Madam Bowie, 4 boys got scholarship about 4 years ago to go to India to study. And I'm one of the 4. I'm back and I'm working with the U.S. Embassy. Had it not been for the generosity of the foundation, we would not have finished college. We'd still be lingering in poverty. So I was very happy that at least you can look and see, somebody is sitting somewhere and saying, you did it for me, and this is where I find myself today. September, school will start again. December is our busiest month. This December, we're having Peace Jam. Peace Jam is where we have 500 plus young people from different high schools in Liberia coming together at the Baptist camp, the women's camp, and it's just a lot of noise. If you got hearing problem, put earplugs in your ear, but it's music, it's dance, but it's also learning. This year we're hopeful that I can bring my Nobel sister, Maria Risa, from the Philippines to come, but Maria can't say yes because the government has so many charges on her, and she doesn't want to say yes to come to any place and then somebody plans something and the K Hall. So for now, we can't say she's coming on any public space, but we know whether she will come. But we hope for. So Peace Jam is coming up. Festival of Women, to all the women in the community. Yeah, if you have women in your community who you know selling charcoal, selling bitter ball, doing something and they're struggling, but you know that in December nobody will ever get them a Christmas present, or no one will ever take them out. We will open up for people to submit names of women to come to Festival of Women. It is an amazing space. Who have been to Festival of Women yet? And you regret coming?
No.
Festival of Women is the space where you come in the morning, we do our prayer walk, we have breakfast together, then we break out into workshops on financial literacy, building your business, all of the different things. Your health is your wealth, beautiful, how to do self-care. We have people there to do your pedi and your mani. We got people there to check your blood pressure. But at the end of it, there is a lot of dancing and games and competition. And every year, first I used to be proud to say I handmade all of the Christmas cards for everyone. But last year, Dexter showed me that he was better than me. So this year will be Dexter and I making Christmas cards, and we give gift bags to the women. So that's why we encourage people to recommend women in their community who will never go to such an event, who no one will give a Christmas card to, and who may never get Christmas presents to come. So Festival of Women is in December. You just keep following us on our Facebook page. Last but not least, this one is going to be open to the public. Last year we started the first edition of our Magnificent Praise. This year we're going back again for Magnificent Praise. It's the end of the year to thank God for everything He has done for us. Come to Magnificent Praise this year and hear the testimonies of how God has been so good to us. Last year we had one testimony of one of our students who had leukemia, and she got healed. Amen. She was in a hospital, and this is not India, China, anywhere but JFK for 9 months. And she went back home. So God has been faithful to us, and we are not ashamed to say, even though we are non-for-profit, but faith has also been leading us. On that note, I will take my seat. And I'm excited about today. I'm always excited about Feminist lecture series. The men say when they come here, they can be on a menu. We don't allow them to talk. Y'all don't be shy. This is not just for women. Y'all can ask questions also. So let me start. They say age before beauty. My senior Spartan, Her Royal Highness, Dr. Romel Houghton. Sir, please join us. You know that the two of us went to Debbie Harris High School, and she graduated a few years before me. So we always got to put a hand up on it. My senior Spartan, beyond that, she was a queen. Wow. So that's why she's the Royal Highness. Nobody in Debbie Harris will address this woman without adding that for Royal Highness. Second up, we have Ethel Harris. Ethel will join us, the Vice President of the Cotton Campus School Student Association. Ethel, you sit next to me, so I can squeeze your hand and you're feeling a bit nervous. And then I will ask our former board member, T1, to join us, T1 Dennis. We got this talking with you. Several years ago, we started our visionary board, a board for young people to help us dream the next step for GPFA. And T1 was one of our founding members. And then our next guest is Ms. Vic Jones. And this is our first time interacting, so I'm excited for us. You can sit next to Doc. And then there's Princess Nicole Blamo, the environmentalist, a board member of GPFA, visionary think and the one who's leading our environmental work. All right. Woo! It is amazing to see very beautiful, intelligent, smart. That, you know what we'll do? You and I will talk. but then we also let them talk. Then if you get any, we just want to have a conversation, so relax, everybody take a deep breath. Yeah, so I'm going to pass this mic, the other mic to Ethel. Just tell us something about yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Ethel Karen. I'm a student of Cottington Campus School and I'm in 11th grade. I'm 60 years of age. I serve as General Secretary in the year 2020 to 2021 for the Student Council Government, and later serve as Vice President for 2023 to 2024 for the Cottington Campus School Student Council Government. There is more to my story and I'm going to tell you a lot more.
Okay, so let's just pass it down.
My name is Princess Nicole Blamo, but I go by Pudu. I am an environmentalist and I work as a project manager for big manufacturing companies and help them be more sustainable. So that's
My name is Tion Florence Dennis. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Sharks Entertainment Incorporated. I have a passion for entrepreneurship and community engagement, empowerment, economic empowerment, especially for women as well. So that's why I'm here today.
Hello everyone, my name is Vic June Excelvita, and I'm the founder of the Initiative for Youth Empowerment and Economic Development, IED Incorporated. I'm also a gender equality activist, and I have several youth empowerment programs running already in some schools.
Now, you guys know I can't talk about introduction, so I'm not going to say anything about myself because you always just call me the queen. So you just call me the queen. Always just fine. But I'm just so excited to be here. Everything that has to do with young people who are going to be breaking the glass ceiling, and that's what I'm all about. And I'm really excited to hear your story and to see how you can help in ensuring that you make a difference, not only in this nation, but everywhere that you go. As I tell my students, greatness is in you, so go out and be good. So let's be good.
So, in the history of Cottington University, you became the first woman president. I know Dr. Kandakai served as intern at some point, but you were the one that they gave the gavel to. How has that been?
Very challenging in a very good way. Because with me, I try to take the challenges and turn them into opportunities. And while Cottington University as a whole, we are 135 years old. 1889, Cottington was founded. And I told them, it took them only 133 years to get it right by putting a female at the head. So when you get into something like this, you have to have good interpersonal skills. And I love my students. And it's not a fake kind of love. I truly love my students, and that reflects into the way I deal with them. And because of that, wanting the best for them and doing the best that we can to ensure what we give them, you get the best out of them. So I'm really glad about that. And Julie, I don't want to talk about you.
No, don't worry.
About
We're coming down to words. I mean, I kind of find myself in academia in New York. I run a women's program at CUNY University, City University of New York Law School. And I know that just from being there, I'm exhausted.
Yes.
That academia is very toxic. It's, don't tell me I'm saying this here. Well, when they fire me, I it's very toxic. It's very difficult. Sometimes you don't even know who's telling you the truth and how do you navigate. Is it the same in Liberia or is it different?
I think it's worse in Liberia. Yeah, you know it's worse in Liberia. Academia is because we try not to politicize education, but for some reason we cannot seem not to politicize education. It's really weird that in this day and age, that people will still see me and someone said that's the person of Cottington, and the first thing they would say, oh, this one here. I mean, we're talking about intergenerational generational leadership, and people are still doing that. So we need to rise above those things. And when you see someone who's in a post, you should wonder how did this person get there, and not just look at these people, you would not know someone's story until they tell you their story. You have walked in their shoes. But academia, I think we're getting to a place where we are getting more diversified, and I think we're getting better, and we need to be able to continue to get better. So we are all hoping for our youth, the people that now we are serving. As I tell them, my students, no, I'm here to serve you. So those people that we are serving, and we have been so honored to have the parents trust us with, we have to do better for them, so that when it is their time to serve, they know what it is to be a servant.
Okay, so Vic, let me come to you. The small girl narrative. How do you navigate that?
I had the privilege to serve at the Liberian National Students Union as vice president. And at first, I actually thought it was something I was really going to enjoy doing, until I got there and realized it was a whole system that I had to deal with, and the system has been there forever. And I was alone, the only female in the leadership. So the first thing the age factor, Her Royal Highness talked about, was playing with me. When I'm in the leadership, like we're in a meeting, I'm trying to raise my voice, and they're like, you make hold on, you're talking too much, you're shouting over us. So I started reaching out to some elderly women who I was I'm still looking up to, and it was like, you don't have to stay silent, because they're doing it for you to shut up. And if you shut up, you will not be heard. So you need to keep talking. If they don't like it, just keep talking. They will hear it. Trust me, they'll get uncomfortable, but they will hear it. And that's how I started getting very loud. And I realized I was getting loud, and they were actually not liking it, but they were hearing. And some of the issues I was actually raising, they started to pay attention to it. So I think when you persevere and you stay determined in the midst of having challenges, you actually get results.
Thank you. Ethel, let's talk about small girl. You're small girl, but when you have big dreams, tell us some of your dreams.
I want to be a lawyer and advocate for women.
Continue. Can we use that mic? This one is. Well, what have you been doing?
Like I said, I want to be a lawyer that will advocate for women and children. Because looking at my country, Liberia, women are not highly respected. Males are the one being respected in this nation. And seeing the way that they are being abused by men, and I feel like they need an opportunity for their voice to be heard. So I want to be in a position to speak up for them and for their voices to be heard.
So, dreams are beautiful things. When I was going to pediatric school so many years ago, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I see the doctor right now. I am so far away from the goals that I set or from that dream and vision. How do you intend on sticking to it?
Well, I want to be a lawyer in my family because there's no lawyer in my family. And I've seen that many people are taking the path to be a doctor and a nurse. So I want to change that in my family. I don't want to be a doctor, so I'm going to stick to being a lawyer.
Ethel is determined. So let me pass the mic to T1 and Pulu. I'm going to give you two. Y'all because y'all probably have the same chorus. T1, you are CFO, Sharks Entertainment, Butler graduate, Eli Lilly staff. You left all of that, moved back to Liberia to work with your mother. As a leader, how does working for family who was already established impact how people see you?
I think sometimes people tend to choose the narrative of I'm sitting there because I'm a daughter. Now, anyone who actually knows my mother knows that the privileges that come along with being a CFO do not come easily. And someone asked me when I decided to move to Liberia, leave a corporate job where they were sending me around. I was dealing with large budgets. They asked me, why would you leave all that to come to Liberia? And I told them it's because I'm playing chess and not checkers. What looks good to you today doesn't mean that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what does my life look like working for someone else? What does it look like working for myself? So it comes with its own challenges, but I think when you focus on the long game and you look at the impact that you have, when I'm able to see if I economically empower 5 persons and I'm happy to see them building houses, paying their own way through trade school, being able to afford things as low-skilled laborers that wouldn't be able to afford it without that, it makes it worth the while.
I'm tempted to stick to you, but I'll jump to Pulu and then I'll come back to the two of Pulu. Similar question to Tivon. There's a lot of privilege in being the daughter of the Nobel laureate, so this is my 4th child. How do you navigate privilege in your personal dream as a leader?
That's a very deep question. How do I navigate privilege in my personal dream? I think sometimes you refer to your children, whether you gave birth to them or not, as blessed and privileged, or if I got that wrong. And I think that distinction applies in a way of allowing me to see that my position as being privileged because I am your child gives me the opportunity to get to know other people. I think one of the things you've done really well for us who you gave birth to, or your children, is you have allowed us to experience other people's stories and be a part of the narrative of your success. And that exposes you to the good, the bad, the ugly. We have witnessed what it means to triumph and be on top of the world, and what it means to also lose a lot in the midst of that success. So it grounds me. I would say the privilege that I'm afforded grounds me in the fact that as I pursue success, whatever it might mean, as Stephen said, some people think it's the big corporate job in America and the house and the car and all of that. But for me, it's allowed me to see that, especially with regard to Africa, that if you don't have to live what other people tell you is success. So I've seen what success is from your life. I've seen what success is from different generations, grandma's generation, ma's generation. I've seen intergenerational success, what it means as a Liberian to be successful. And as I pursue my success, my privilege allows me to assess the environment and say, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want. So I have more information to make decisions based.
So I have more information to make decisions because I've seen the success. And just yesterday I was having a conversation with some of my staff and we talked about opportunity cost. And the simplified version of the opportunity cost is that for every opportunity you have, there's something that you have to give up or something you have to sacrifice. And the way it is said is that for every crown, there is a thorn, And so let's talk about the thorns of leadership. And one of the things that I realized earlier on after winning the Nobel Peace Prize was that it's a beautiful thing, but it's very challenging. There's a lot of private tears. There's a lot of betrayal. And I will say this because I'm a leader and we're talking leadership today. There's a lot of private tears, there's a lot of betrayal, there's a lot of tiptoeing around people. You don't know which side to lean on, you don't know which side to and so over time you begin to sift out your relationships to the point that it's almost like if you're not careful and you don't have faith, you are paranoid. Let's talk about paranoia. I'll start with you, Pulu, go down to Tivon, then to Vic, and then to Doc, and then we'll come back to my FL with another question. I mean, you live with me, you've seen the paranoia, not necessarily living with me. Pulu live anywhere she feels like doing her own thing. But how do you deal with the paranoia that just paranoia? Let me give an example. Immediately after winning the Nobel Peace Prize, Josh was at college, and someone found out that my son was at that particular college in the US. He comes outside of his door and see the media line up, and he runs back. in and picks up the phone and say, depressed, depressed, depressed. And Abby and I were together, she said, don't say a word to them. How do you deal with all of this?
I think, so our siblingship, I have 7 siblings and we call it a siblingship. We have conversations about this often where as we meet people, the decision to say who our parent is or where we've gone to school or whatever the things and our experiences, we kind of sift and filter ourselves to people based on how we will be received. There are some spaces where I can walk into and I feel very comfortable being my full self. And authenticity, I've realized, as you do with paranoia, being authentic doesn't necessarily mean putting everything about you out there. Sometimes you have to filter who and what you are and allow people to experience you bits and pieces. Because something I get often is people feel intimidated by me because of sometimes the way I talk and the way I navigate spaces. And being paranoid about people being intimidated by me is something that I have struggled with, but at the same time, I realize that it's not me, so the paranoia is a result of what other people perceive about me. And if I continue to dwell on what other people think or might experience when they see me based on whatever ideals they have about me, then I will shrink my self-consistency throughout life. I'll continue to, like she said, walk around on tiptoes as you're navigating people. So I think I've consciously made a decision to just be who I am, wherever I am, and people can do with that information what they will. Like she said, I don't stay, I live wherever I want, and as a young person in this world, that's a bold decision to make. People ask me all the time, where are you based? And I don't have an answer for that. But at the same time, that's who I want to be in this stage, and I'm proud about that. So I would say I've kind of learned to not be paranoid about what people think about me and not dwell on it.
So one of the things, before we go to Tifa, one of the things that I literally love about my children is how they are embarrassed to tell people that they are my children. Like there is no pride in, oh, I'm Layman's daughter or I'm Layman's son. So we get to Tennessee on a trip one time and I take Arthur and Amber with me, 2 of my other children, and at the door of the plane, there are police officers there. And the first thing Arthur whispered to me, what trouble you now cause again? Police trouble with you. I don't know, it's the Nobel thing, they came to escort me. And he's like, okay. So we get outside, there's this huge limo, and we get in this limo, we're going. But the one thing that I've come to recognize, whether it's in the presence of royalty, or whether these children don't want to have anything to do with me. Like public days, they don't want people to know that I am their mother. And the only time, one time, they were excited to be my children was last July when I had a meeting with President Kagame, and he said they could come in the room and yes, this is our mother. Hi, PK.
I can add to that and say that part of that is because when you walk into a room and the first thing people say is, this is Lema's daughter, you're not introduced as yourself.
Yes.
So So in trying to kind of walk in, like I said, I try to be authentic. Who I am is who I am. I'm Lema's daughter, yes, but you gave birth to me. It doesn't mean I am you. So when you walk into a room and you're being introduced as Lema's daughter, you have to kind of step into the role of being her daughter instead of being who you are. So that's kind of I think that's where everyone comes from that perspective.
So Tifa, you know that Ivo and I, we have our morning session where she will prepare my sandwich and we gist about everything, and she told me about the meltdown with starting the ice factory, and she said, don't go public, Ivo, this country, And then you said, oh mommy, everybody gotta see I'm excited, I'm doing this new business and everything, and then you got trolled. Negative comments from a lot of people after you put so much hard work. And it was very, even now talking about it makes me teary because the 2 of us sat in that room, and she was very sad that you had given your all to this particular project and you put it out there for young people to see that I'm growing in my own skin, and the only thing you got was shut the hell up, that your mom money. Let's talk about that. Being Yvonne's daughter.
So, it has its, like Pudu was saying just now, it has its, you have to navigate it your own way. And it's twofold, the positives and then the negatives. And for one thing, I'm a Christian, and I believe that when God decides to bless somebody, He blesses you generationally. Who am I to curse myself if God has already blessed me? And I think that's the ego part of it, right? I'm an individual. I want to be recognized for my own contributions to society. I have these great ideas. Working outside of that shadow, sometimes you have to understand that it's one and the same. You are who you are because of the experiences that you've had. You are who you are because of how your parents raised you. So it's not something I would say. I tried to not live my life in a jaded way. And when you talked about it just now, it's so funny that you remind me about it, because I'm working on something now that I talked to you about. It's taking up a lot of my time, but it's like I'm not telling anybody about it. And I'm not telling anybody about it because I want it to grow into its own thing. I want it to become its own thing. And working in silence sometimes and venturing out is difficult, especially when you want to keep it under wraps. But you have to be able to take chances and take your own risk. So being Yvonne's daughter, I made my first job ever. I get this internship on my own. I'm 20 years old, managing a $350 million budget, super excited coming right out of school. And I walk into my boss's office at Eli Lilly, my senior director, and he says to me, "Your mom is an amazing woman." I'm like, what does this man in the middle of Indiana know about my mother? And he's like, "No, I Googled her." And I'm like, "You Googled my mom?" He said, "Yeah, because you put it on your resume that you've been working since you were 10 years old. You have a passion for entrepreneurship, you believe in having autonomous positions. So in researching you, this is what I found." And sometimes it is hard you're not gonna escape it, so embrace it. Embrace it wherever it is that you come from. It doesn't define where you're going, but it helps you a lot. So even if you don't come from maybe a background of privilege, you still have to honor where it is you're coming from, because that's my mother, where my grandmother came from, where my great-grandmother came from. You may think that it's not places she should be, maybe she should be proud of herself, but all those things impacted her into becoming who she is today.
I'm very glad that you brought in the generation before you all, because one of the things that I consistently say to people, you can't read a book from the end of the chapter to the final chapter. You have to go to that first space. And sometimes I tell people, because they raise skin, they see it, they say, "Oh, that poor girl." No, I was born behind Kalondo. My grandmother was our nurse. She was our everything. She died at 115. But she was our first feminist teacher, and all of the different things that we need to know. So, and being a true leader is honoring where you come from. And that's something that I don't ever want, that I don't ever forget, that I am because of all of those people who came before me. So then let's go back to the crown and the thorns. You are known, you travel down the world, and you are a voice in Liberia on women's rights and all of the different things. What are the thorns as a leader that you have to deal with?
It's actually trying to meet the status quo, and some people thinking that you should not even break it because maybe it's you or maybe your age. I was speaking to the age thing because it's thrown at me almost all the time. And then they get first kid and all of that. But people talk about the perception. It's one thing, because when you're into advocacy and you're always speaking up against ills in the society, you're hitting people who are, perpetrators of those crimes. And some of them have big hands, so they tend to squeeze you. Oh, that nigga, try to shut her up, she frisky, she rude, she arrogant. So all of those things, sometimes you have to open your box. Like, am I really what these people are saying? But then I'll go to bed sounding like, no, I didn't wrong anybody. I think I'm just doing what is needed to be done. So one of the ways I try to navigate through all of the perception is to ensure that I am not like that, and it's my confidence. So I go through it like, I will not shut up. I think this is who I am. This is out of conviction. So if somebody, I remember there was a case with some corruption in the country, and they were like, I was on the radio and said, but you should not be stealing as a public official. And it was like, you can't tell the elderly man that he's stealing. You should say he's, invest. I said, my dear, stealing is stealing. Your income to come. So they look at you, go, what you depending on. So I think it's much more people put me in a box, and it's the misconception about me. So it has actually tried. At some point in time, it actually used to drain me. But then when I realized I'm not the cause, it's just them and it's the system. So I've been able to go through that. And I've tried my best to just stay in my lane, not to get at anybody, and just do what is right as I am convicted to do.
Thank you. That, one of the things that I consistently hear is that just because she thinks she's smart, she's arrogant. How do we navigate? How do you even try to, her Royal Highness, you carry your crown. And every day society expects you to put a button on your crown. How do you navigate that?
It's one thing I've never been this arrogant, and I think people who know me know that. But if someone were to tell you that you're arrogant, claim it. Because they're only affirming that you're great. And that greatness to receive of claim it. So don't let anyone, do not let anyone dim your light. That is something you should never do. And everybody sees success differently. So just because you think I'm the president and you think I'm successful, no, you could be, as I told you, the cleaning lady, you could be the cleaning lady, and because you do that job your best. And when people walk and say this place is great, you are a success. You don't have to be president, you don't have to be mayor, you don't have to be a minister to be a successful person. Just for being the best that you are a successful person. And I don't want people to, any way, to take that from you. I am so impressed with your level of maturity and how you know who you are. And this is something I wish more women, young girls, could really be able to sit here and hear you say this and understand their worth. Because the way you speak, you are understanding your worth. And you know that it doesn't take anyone to tell you who you are. You know who you are. So continue to embrace your greatness, continue to embrace who you are, and step out, be the light that you know you are. That greatness is in you, go out and be great. I'm gonna keep saying this as I say all the time.
Thank you. Let me come to Ethel, and then we'll open it up to the public, to everyone here to ask questions. Ethel, so I know your mom. I know she's very humble, and she's very hardworking. How has watching Christine shape you? And let me give an example. O'Neill, one of our students at Corner Lab, and we got this project with something called Kid Spirit. Yeah, it's a magazine in the US where they come and ask our students to write articles. And one of the little boys wrote an article, I want to be a banker. And the reason he stated he wants to be a banker is that his mother went and did daily susu. And the susu man run away with the money. And he watched her cry over her hard-earned money. And from that day till today, he is aiming to be a banker because he doesn't want any other woman to suffer. He wants to be out in the community encouraging women not to use daily susu but to use the bank. So, from O'Neill's story, what has Christine instilled in you as you even dream about being a lawyer? What did you say you saw that made you who you are?
Okay, I would say, looking at my mom, she's very independent. And I want to be an independent person that no man will make fun of. Being an independent woman, because most of the time I see that when women don't learn and men learn one of the women, they should put up that arm like they are the one. I want to inspire women to be very independent, to make their own money, to be a person that will put the arm up like showing Buddha.
They are giving up for. As Ethel talks about wanting to be independent, wanting to earn her own money, one of the things that I battle with from where I sit, whether it's my office or wherever I find myself, is the persistent sadness that overwhelms me. Women are stuck in abusive relationships, sad situations because they do not have, they have not just money, but they have no control over their lives, their bodies, the decisions that they make. And I remember one year going to DR Congo and we're working on this whole rape thing in Congo. And when we asked them, they said Congo is the rape capital, and that's the biggest problem you have here. The women said, no, our problem is economic empowerment. If you have your own money, you won't stay in an abusive relationship. When there are war coming, you will move on. You can be a leader in every space and every sphere. So Ethel is, you're thinking about your future, being an independent woman, having your own resources to navigate your life. And you take that strength, and that's what you're going with. Sometimes when you see young people like yourself, what you will say about, I know you still young, but when you look at your man, like again, come back to it. What positive thing did you take from her, or have you taken from her and say, this is the one gem that Christine has given to me and I will go with it?
One positive thing that I told Bruno is that being a leader, you need to be honest, you need to be someone with integrity, being someone that people will look up to. And you should know where you are headed, because there's no person that wants to be a leader and they say they don't know where they're headed. There's nobody who will follow you with that. Because people are looking for someone who knows what they want and what they are headed. Someone who knows the way and will be able to show the way.
And so Christine has taught you that she's honest, she has integrity, and she knows where she's headed in life, and that is the gem you're taking from her. And I'm sure everyone on this panel have some gem that they're taking, some photo prisoners from their mom. Some people talk a lot of muffiness from their mothers. But and Vic said something about, being a small girl and the negativity. How do you all deal with personal attacks? I will pass it on to Vic. Vic, how do you deal with? Recently, there was a whole live video on me by one of our lawmakers, everybody know who, and it was derogatory. So I wrote to the House of Representatives, copied the U.S. Embassy, the UN, everything, because the first thing that happens when you're a leader, everybody disagrees with you on intellectual or politics or anything. The first thing they go after is your personal. How do you deal with it? I have 8 children, and I've been told that all 8 children from 9 different men. I don't know how it's possible. So how do you personally deal with some of the personal attacks that you get?
Okay, so finding myself in the youth and student space and the civil society space, I kind of pay attention to people who laid the foundation before me, like people like you and several others. And then I kind of studied that most of the things that come at me, there are similar things that you have gone through, like you mentioned about the children.
Going through.
You were still going through. So when I got involved with student politics, I listened to another woman once. She said, you go into politics and you won't know who your part is, just join politics. If you want to know how your mom boyfriend is, just join politics. So, and I thought, even though it's true what she was saying, but I was like, anyways, I'm not doing all of those things. Yeah, they call me a shower, I'm not. They call me this, I'm not. But still, they will find different things. You see with a guy, they think he's obviously automatically a person. And I mean, so how I managed to deal with it, like you said, people took Jim from things. I think I took a lot of craziness, and I'm proud of it. I took a lot of shock mouth from people. Oh, I'm proud of it because I don't let people words tell me, because I've come to realize that words are not just mere utterances. So when you allow something negative to stick in your head, it kind of drains you. So I managed to always say back to them. Yes, I managed to always say back to them in some kind of way. They say you come to collect some kind of way like that. I managed to say it, but it's kind of draining because things you're not doing, they tend to say it and frame it like it's true, like you are this person. So I managed to ensure that what they have out there about me, the perception is not who I am. That's the first thing. And then I always tend to say back to them, I know I'm not, you call me a prostitute, I'm not. Even if I have to reach out to 2-3 persons and complain you, I will do that. But before I complain you also have to get a piece of my mouth. Yeah, so I talk back actually.
I mean, it's very interesting, and I think as a leader, I can comfortably say I'm a leader. It stinks, it hurts, it's difficult. There have been 2 moments in this country that I will forever remember as an activist, but 2 moments that helped me. Really, really, in the sense that we have a lot of young people in here. One was when I was critical of President Sirleaf. Yeah. And the women went to a meeting and signed a resolution that was a disgrace to womanhood. It's still on the internet. If you Google them, I'm one of the first thing that come up. A disgrace to womanhood. The women, and I remember we were in Mexico. We landed, my husband and I, in Mexico, and I stepped out of the airport, and the convoy was from as far as. And then I turned to my husband and said, "Oh, a government official is here." And my husband said, "Someone important." And the man said, "It's your wife." And we get in that convoy, go to the hotel, and we're on the 4th floor, and they clear the entire 4th floor. So it's just the 2 of us living on the 4th floor. And you open your email, and the first thing you see is statement from people you've worked with. I cried my eyeballs to sleep or to pee, whatever. And the second one was when the former minister of gender, who is a good friend and sister of mine, when she went back at each other on social media. And the person that I felt sorry for was my husband, because he couldn't sleep that night. And his point was, this is your sister, how do we navigate this? He would just turn over in the bed and go, I said, "Why are you not sleeping?" He said, it's struggling. But then the tens of thousands of people who were writing me and said, "Don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything." So young, but let me ask you, maybe not on the public stage, but maybe the third one that I really didn't pay attention to was when I said Joe Becker was old, he should retire. Hey! They dragged that 7 grand really old. But a white girl who manages some of my things came to me and said, "Madam Bowie, I've been working with you for 6 years. This is vicious. I have never seen anything." She said, even the past government, when you did the 26th speech, it wasn't as bad as this. So I've been there, and I wish it was over. But as long as you still speak truth to power, it's not going to be over. The question I have for you, and then I open it to the floor: how do you navigate your quiet moment of pain, whether it's public or a friend betrayal or something? Let me, because I thought Her Royal Highness who want to augmentation enjoying your. So then you can take it from there, and then I'll pass it on to.
So I'm gonna give a little secret about me today. I'm a very fragile person. So I could cry when I'm really, yes. And I find this solace with hugs. Like when something really hurt me, I like to hug somebody that I know has my back. So basically it's my mom first that I think of, and my childhood friend and sister Gekoti. So sometimes after making all the shower and I fight back when I get with things in me now, I'm like, "Mommy, you know today." And so I basically hug my mom, and then my sister or anybody close to me, and then I kind of say a prayer because I love reading the Bible. It's my favorite book. all the things that I've come to know. So I find solace in the Psalms. I read it whenever my tears dry up, and then I just say a prayer like, Lord, please help me. I know this journey is so long, and this is not even what, is probably the tip of the iceberg. But when you spoke about getting a resolution from women that you've worked with, I also resonate with that. Because I just drafted an article called The Unexpected Embrace, and it's basically my own experience in the youth and student space, especially with young women. So there's this thing that we have out there, women supposed to support women. But then I think it has never been the reality, it would not be. Because most of the people that I have had to deal with as adversaries are women. Most of the support I always have comes from men. So when you say you cry, I actually felt that because I've also gone through even some physical attacks. And most of the people saying, yeah, she deserved it, she frisked it, they were all women, like out of 100%. So I think there's this statement, women support women, I think we have to look at it, because we have to also respect people's rights and their views. Not become a woman so everybody must support me if they don't want to. So I need to get to that point of accepting it. I think that's where the frustration comes in. Because when you accept that, not because you're a woman, another woman should support you. If she does it, fine, probably it's a compliment. But if you start to see it as an entitlement, then it really breaks you. So I think we can navigate through that with the issue of the perception and accepting that it will not always go our way. We should just, see people as who they are and maybe go up to God, because they're where I run most times when I'm really hurt. Yeah.
Timo, navigating your private pain, how do you do that?
I think one of the things is, like Dr. Horton rightfully said, knowing who you are, but knowing whose you are as well. Knowing that you're a child of God, or whatever your belief system is, knowing whose you are and who has you covered. Because if you pay attention, it's like, wolves shouldn't pay attention to the opinions of sheep. How you carry yourself in this world, who you know yourself to be, how you hold your head up, is a major, major part of it. Because I think it's a sad day in the sense of like that people don't humanize people or leaders, people who they vision, they have a perception of. They see you to be this person, and whatever plays into their narrative is what they accept and what they hold. And when you realize a lot of that work has to be done internally, it's not something anybody can help you with, anyone can really say anything to you, other than explaining their own personal things. And for me, being an entrepreneur, being someone who other people are, if you don't show up, other people don't get paid. If you don't show up, other people are not inspired. If you don't show up, the mission, the campaign, it doesn't continue. So in those moments when you're at your lowest, also knowing who is depending on you, who's looking at you, and putting your head down in that moment doesn't help anybody else. But lifting your head up inspires much more. So in those moments, you have to look at who is looking at you as well, and let that inspire you to keep inspiring other people.
Your private
I'm just kidding. How do you right now give my private pain? I say, I kind of revert to love, in the sense of like, I've grown up in a very loving family. My siblings, I have no doubt they love me. My parents have no doubt they love me. And so when I'm faced with betrayal, whatever the case may be, also God loves me, I always revert to the fact that most people in this world, I know, have not had the experience I've had where they've been surrounded by love consistently. So when someone meets you with their pain that they've experienced, they've gone through something, and they just purging it out on you because, again, they perceive you to be, either they point out their pain or something like that, I always revert to the fact that that person has hurt in them, and what they're saying or speaking on me, like you said, words have power. It's not a reflection of who I am. And so I have to sit with the reality that most people in the world who will ever cause you pain or who have caused you pain were doing it out of their own internal mess that they have going on. And I know I have my own internal mess, and there have been moments where I met people and I purged that onto them. And so So giving people grace is really important to me, whereas a lot of people here say they have sharp mouth. When it comes to fighting, me, if you meet me on the street, you beat me because I can't fight. So I don't tend to return fire with fire. I tend to always, or usually typically back down and give people the grace to kind of have that moment, because I know at the end of the day where I'm going back to, there's a lot of love for me, there's a lot of compassion, there's a lot of peace, especially in God, there's a lot of peace, so I don't tend to kind of return fire with fire. So.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the children in the school, in the dorm, when they come with negativity at you?
Okay. I first received a letter from my room. Someone wrote on it saying how I like to either say I know everything. Like I like to show myself. They don't like me. So when I actually saw that letter, I felt hurt because I'm a person who loves everybody and want for everybody to love me at the same time. So at that point, when I saw it like that,
She's growing, she's growing. Keep loving Ethel, keep loving, and I mean this, keep loving.
so when I saw that letter and I was crying in my room because the people who I felt that they love me back, they didn't love me at all. So I decided at the point that it's not every time you will be loving everybody at the same time they will be loving you back. So I decided not to feel like that. I gotta focus on myself and doing what I feel that will make me happy. So that's
That's an amazing way to think about it. Focus on yourself, focus on yourself. But sometimes it can be hard. I think my mom could just sit there and tell all the pain stories, the crying stories, but something Vic said that I want to go back to. The thing about women supporting women. I tell you all, in the midst of all of everything that I've gone through in this country, I still have confidence in women. And why do I say that? This woman came to Liberia and she sat with some different women, and when she came back, she said, "Dang, Lema, these women are vicious." She said, "When I listened to someone and talking about you, I was so sad." So I said, "I guess that too." She said, "No, but this is the way I saw it. And I thank God that she told me that." She said, "When you put 10,000 hungry people, extremely hungry people in one room, and put one bread there, the natural response is that they will fight, walk all over each other, tear each other apart to get to that bread." Yes. And that is what leadership is in our world. Yes. They got one position they throw at us, and everyone is clamoring at it. But in the positions that we get, and people are not qualified and competent for, they still feel it is within my inherent right to be the president of God because I'm a woman. And so they will viciously come at you. And after she said this to me, I said, "That's another truth to this. It's not that we are bad. It's just that we haven't had enough opportunities. So the few opportunities that we have, people are clamoring all over each other for it. And from that moment till now, I don't feel bad. What I do try to do is continue to create spaces."
So that's the question. Should we wait for the opportunities or should we create the opportunities? We need to create the opportunities because we don't have a lot of opportunities coming to us. So it's within us to do that. So why are we not doing it?
But the one thing that we need to understand is that we are in a space where, and this is not just Liberia, it's an Africa thing, and some other parts of the world where when you've been told, repeatedly we've been conditioned to believe that leadership is not for us. It's not for us. So there is a re-socialization that needs to happen for a lot of women to stand up and say, my mother, I believe, is liberal in many ways. But there are some things that she will say, I will be like, huh? You know that one, they're not liberal, so and so thing, so and so thing. Then when I'm looking at her, say she didn't want that way. So I will ask her, I say, so what have you engaged her intellectually? No, but just looking at her woman that way, looking at her for. So we have to accept it, that's the first thing. I think the second thing that needs to happen is that sometimes I say that somebody said to me, oh, 2029, you'll be my VP. I said, don't tell me that nonsense. I said, I'm getting more being president of the Republic of Liberia. Enough women, we need to get bold and say, I'm stepping into this space, because everything that all of these women are doing is not magical. It's just a decision. They woke up one morning and said to themselves, I'm going there. Some of the things that I can face in the world, some of the people there I can deal with, I be like, while walking out of somebody, did you just do this? You know, did you just deal with X, Y, and Z leader? Or did you just speak your truth in front of all of these people? 8 years ago, I was at the Security Council. I gave a speech and told them to dismantle the entire Security Council. I'm sitting between the ambassadors of Russia and America and said the 5 permanent members need to be dismantled. The Russian ambassador looked at me. The American ambassador looked at me. I said, and in the hall of the Security Council, no one is allowed to clap. I got a standing ovation after my speech. Today, everybody running with him, dismantle the Security Council, dismantle the Security Council, dismantle.
I'm taking credit.
No. And I don't even think about it, because again, this is something about women's leadership. When we say things, and that's why I started writing. Because there is this adage that says, until the deer learns to write, the narrative will always favor the hunter. So, for all of us stepping into the space, we can't continue to be 10,000 in one room with one piece of bread. We need to send 10,000 bread in the room so that each person can have a bread. Let me open it up for anyone who got a question for these amazing women. You don't come to me, because I can just see New Republic article tomorrow saying the man Bowie says she fit to be president. No. Yeah, I know. And we got seats, people can come in between and sit down. So questions, more. So who passed me my around? Yes. He can't go. Let's go. Yeah, nobody going to do that for us. Okay, and Angel Dele and former minister. Yeah, right here. Y'all want to ask them. And old people, front seat, front row, Sarah, we got sit. They can talk and meet them.
Let me say a big thank you, and I think the panelists have done extremely well. But before I get to ask Mickey my question, let me just say this to all of you in this room. When you say women don't support women, yeah, to some extent. For all of these young women you see here today, another woman helped to bring them to where they are. Yes. So yes, we do, and we must give all of the women a hand of applause. Whether your grandma, your family, your neighbor, I know that Vicky was explaining some of her pains and her trials, but one thing that stuck in my head with this little child, I'll call her little child, because we're from the States, we call her children. She was traveling and was during the COVID time.
And they got to the airport. And they couldn't give her the reason why, even though she had all the necessary documents that she needed. She took her telephone and she started to record them. And they thought that she was this frisky little girl, and they were going to stop her, they were not going to pop it. And she said, I dare you. And I'm watching this video live. And I said, no, that's my moment, so let me call her. I texted Vicky. Vicky said, and the beginning, I will deal with him. I said, well, you miss your flight, you're going somewhere. But that is the kind of person that she is, very determined. And I want all of you, if you could take anything from in this room, never say no. Challenge yourself. All of us have had our own disagreement and agreement. We've been accused, but if you know your inner self and you know what you stand for. To our 11th grade student, I am so proud of you. All of you know, start from your community, from your school. I was the first female president for my high school. And I was a founding member of the Federation of Nigerian Youth. So when you start from that level, you know you will go somewhere. So Dr. Romel, I was served on the board of trustee for the Episcopal Church. And when it was time to look for a president, we took Bishop, no, it's time for a woman. He said, well, who? That again? I said, not again, not that I brings. So again, to my niece and Putu. Thank you for sharing your stories, because if you don't tell your story, someone will tell it for you. So continue to tell your story. We might continue to have such programs so other ones out there can be able to tell the stories. We all have stories, but if you don't write it, somebody will write it for you. And you don't want that to happen. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, please.
Women! Women! Women don't know. Women are women! Women don't step back. I said, we are women. You know, guys. I said, so I want to say thank you to the panelists for your words, all the words that you gave us. I want to say thank you. And keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing. We're there. We stay there. And I want to ask T1.
Yeah, T1.
T1, okay. So I want to find out from you, what can you do? Because I'm from the slum community. My work and calling have been in the slum. So what can you do with your idea that you have to be able to reach out to people that are living in West Point, Clarendon, Sunnyland, coconut plantation area there, the little area, you know, the slum area, even for Rubio, Kerry Street in those places. Separately. What can you do? Do you have a program to be able to go and reach out to them, teach them business idea, how to be able to establish their own kind of business? Because most of the people live in poverty because they don't have the money. We try our best, but we have all that we want to do. And we they call it familiarity. Even the people are familiar with us. So sometimes we tell them some things, you know, they will not look at it because we live with them. So you come in within your community and try to bring them, being a young woman, I think it will really help them a lot. So I want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you.
So we will take the question, T1, just sit there. Let's take 1, 2, 3, and then we'll come back again. No, you pass that in class? Oh, no, you take instruction from me.
Thank you so much.
Question, please.
Yeah, question, straight question. My name is Hawa Vani, and sitting here, I'm so impressed. My phone even fell, I didn't even know, because I'm just very impressed with the panelists, and everything they said is true and is very touching. And I want to say congratulations to you all. So my question is, how do you manage your time? You know, being a woman, being a young girl, and you have some responsibility in your home, and you managing a business, you know, and being a president and all of that. How do you manage your time, you know, navigating between all of these things that you do? I really want to learn that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nola, let's take for the person who said you were up there and then we'll answer the question. We'll take this round and then we'll go back for the next round and we'll start from there and come back here.
Good evening. My name is Carol Mama. My question directly to Madam Gomi's daughter.
No, her name is Kudu.
Madam Kudu, very nice to see you. And to all the panelists, thank you so much for what you're doing. I mean, for years, Madam Gomi, I can see it because we have been seeing her, we've been listening to her. So she's our mom. So the panelists, thank you because I'm just seeing you for the first time. My question directly to you. In this country, many times we see people who can afford their children, they go astray. They don't like to pay attention. In fact, they look at their parents' societal status and they tend to go very contrary to the needs of life. To see you as a Nobel laureate, international icon daughter, and well composed. What would be a message or messages to young people in this country, whether from a racial or underprivileged background, to know that it is very important to find your own voice or voices and not to depend on your parents' successes?
Thank you. So let's go. We'll go to Vic first, and then to T-Bone, then to Pudu.
So,
We'll make it quick so that we'll go back.
okay, so the issue is time management. I run a local NGO and I work with young women and girls. So I managed to set up a that I work with directly. So most times when I have activities, I put them down on a schedule and I ensure that I commit to only what I'm able to attend. So most times if I'm not able, I send 1 or 2 persons to represent me. But I manage to put myself also in the entire schedule. I don't stress too much. I also have time to rest and then time to carry out my activities.
So when it comes to the question of if I leave, I'm very willing to engage into any community I'm invited into. Some of the things, like we touched on the issue of time management, if I don't have the time to formally set up like an NGO or a microfinancing business, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have impact on the little time that I have. I don't spend it wisely. So apart from what I do with the business and, for example, the guys that you see selling the ice cream around, they're all their own business owners. They don't work for us per se. They come, they buy, and then they go and sell. So I've been struggling with them for the last 5 years on how to actually capture or to catch them and make them save their money. And they're like, no, we have to spend. Every day I have to give food money. Every day I have to do this. And so this year I came up with a project for them and I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to increase the price of the things that you guys buy, meaning that every time you come and buy it, the price actually stays the same, but I now have an amount that I'm saving for you. Because if I just ask you to come and save, then you want to excuse so you know the price is high. And all of them are like, okay, so we hosted a town hall meeting to be able to discuss it with all of them, and all of them are telling me, boss, yeah, it can't work. And then I just got to the point, I said, you know, I don't care if it doesn't work. We're gonna try it for 1 month. So after 1 month, now they run behind me with their own money to save and want to even add the price up because having money in bulk empowers you more than eating it small every day. There was a group that I got engaged with on Randall Street. They are Value Boys. And after looking at some of the things that they do and how they run their businesses, I was able to start a revolving fund for them, for some of the people who maybe, for example, some of their houses burn sometimes, or some people market hand can drop and things like that. So I'm always willing to engage. If other people have the formal setup, or if it doesn't even have to be formal, you want me to come and can get a group of people together, we can talk about financial literacy, we can talk about business planning, and all those good things. So I'm always willing to engage.
The question to me was about how to advise young people to support themselves. So I would say I read a book that says parents give their children roots and wings. They should give their children roots and wings. And I think when you have privilege, there's a temptation to believe that money can sustain you or your material wealth can sustain you. I think that's where a lot of young people fall into that category of like, once you have, you feel like you're better than other people because you have. But my upbringing isn't an upbringing where material things were valued. I have a very a childhood moment where for Christmas they got me this baby doll. It was very pretty, had all the accessories, and I was obsessed with it, and I had it for exactly 6 hours because my cousin came over and decided that that was the doll he wanted for Christmas. He didn't want anything else. And I think I was 6 or 7 at the time, having all the adults in your life saying, this is someone who wants this, it's yours, but you have to give it to them because sharing is caring. So I've been brought up to value people. In that moment, my cousin was more important, not than me, but his joy, because he wanted that, would have been better, you understand? And at any point in time, because my mother is lame, I should go and get me that same doll again, but he wouldn't have that opportunity. So in that sense, I've been brought up to value people more than I value these material things. The value of people, like, I have all the internet saying around here, we weren't brought up to think that because we're better than anyone. No, that's not it. The roots of my upbringing is people, community, what you can do to help. Like, I forgot who was saying, you were saying that servant leadership, like, leadership isn't about your status, the car you drive, the house you're in. It's about how do you serve the people who are in your life, not just the people who are under you, but the people who are next to you. How do I serve T-Bone? How do I serve Etel? So there are all these moments in my life where I've been confronted by you have and you can. Like, for example, we all went to school outside of Liberia. We have, we can, and there are people in those situations who would tempt you to say, because you have, you should do X, Y, and Z, you should engage in these types of activities because you have money. I had someone once who told me, Pudu, your network is your net worth. You have a really large network. Why are you like this? Why are you not using it to your advantage? And I was like, do you mean I should just be boastful about these things that I have, boastful about the people I know? And they were like, yes, because it will get you into XYZ room, it will get you into this club, it will get you into this space. And for some people that's important, but for me, the worst thing that can happen to me is for me to get to a point in my life where I think what I have is more important than the people I have around me. If I get to that point, then I know that not only have I failed, but she has failed, my family has failed, and even to a degree that God has left his hand off of me, because that's not possible. So that's where I am. So the advice is just to value people. Value the people you see around you. Value not the things, but the people. So yes.
Thank you. And the question about how you manage your time, again, we come back to opportunity cost. What is important to you? When my children were growing up, I was never around. I can tell anybody that Arthur played, my son played soccer all his life. I only got to see him play his senior year in high school. And I was crazy on that field in America. As you were running on the ball, I was running. When you coming back, now I'm picking me that, now I'm picking me that. I was just crazy. But I knew that there would be moments that I would have to choose. And at that time, peace in Liberia meant my children coming back home, being the best that they could be. For all of the women who work with you will tell you that it was peace work first, and then family second. In this particular stage of my life, and since COVID, I've gotten to the point where I recognize that if I show up, it will stay warm. So every week, I take one day off. And that day, that just for me to do, and I would say blessed and privileged to be me. That I'm able to, so on those days that I'll take it off, I can choose that I'm going to JDJ Hospital or Redemption or Catholic Hospital to carry baby things and pray with the babies. That the reason why I call it a day off is because it's the day that I don't have lights, camera, action. It's not in my book, it's not in my calendar.
No assistant is calling me and saying you have to do this, or I'm not getting called from New York to say, oh, this is something you need to do. It's me waking up in the morning, stretching and saying, I wear my jeans, my sneakers, I'm going to visit those babies at JDJ. I will pray with them, get in their Bibles, do this, or go to New Redemption Hospital or the Catholic Hospital, or visit my old ladies, or go to my sister Taylor shop, or just sit down there and run my mouth and sew more clothes that I can wear, you know, those kinds of things. But the point that I make is that when we all need to stop. I just did every Monday I do a piece, and I just did a piece this past Monday about really stopping. And the reason why I did that piece was because I was just in a board meeting in LA, and somebody died on our board. And the people started the meeting, and they said, so sad, so sad. Next agenda. I said, Jesus. Hey! Just like that. So at the end of the day, what is important is your family, the ones you love, spending time with them. Because when we carry ourselves like we are irreplaceable on the job, no. My staff in Ghana used to say, the only thing you get a moment of silence, and that moment of silence will not even be silent because somebody's cell phone will ring. So navigating your time is about defining what is important. One other thing that I want to say quickly, and then we'll go to the next question, and then we'll soon wrap up, is when my kids were growing up, and with the young people that I mentor, in as much as relationships were important, I think, Clara, back to your question, sometimes we as parents, we never really invite our children into our world. And we have a very honest relationship in our home. Very, very honest. Sometimes they can say too much information later, we'll share everything. The point is, at one point I recognized after they did pray the devil back to hell, my son Arthur said, after he watched, he said, Mama, is that why you are doing it like that? I said, yes. He said, well, you could have died. And then I recognized that the most important thing is for me to tell my children what I do. Invite them into my world. So they know everything. If I travel to this country, to that country, or where they don't get to accompany me, we sit down and I talk with them. And as they're getting older, I realize that they are points of reference for me. And I'm very happy that there is no celebrity status in our home. You know, sometimes we'll argue, and they say, Lema, yeah, they will call me Lema, you just need to slow down. No, this is not about you, it's about the point that we're trying to make. Did it come on a flower bed of ease? No. A lot of prayer, a lot of love, and a lot of saying to them that this is not what the world needs. We got plenty of soul in. And we can't afford to, and I don't play. I can tell you that one for free. I do not joke. When it comes to training children, I don't joke. Somebody said, now in one police school in Ghana, now she gets out because she tried me. No, I don't joke. And the matron, when I went to visit her the other day, the matron said, by the time she came from sick leave and look at her, said that her mom may call her head. Say, because I will want to play. Because the Bible even says to whom much is given, much is expected in return. So we'll take 2-3 more questions. That takes on the men in the room before they say they were in men. Yeah, you're on the table, you're not men, you're around the table.
Thank you. My name is Wayne, and very beautiful conversations, especially about love and family. I want to ask you, because I think you're fully participating as well, but when I read the thing, I read intergenerational, inclusive, and equity, I think. I'm just very curious, and permit my ignorance, why is there no man on the panel?
I don't feel bad about it. Do you know how many spaces we go into and there are no women? But let me just say something to you. We are very intentional way about this space, because one of the things that I've come to recognize as a leader is that even in this country, there are many spaces where men speak and you don't find women speaking. There are many leadership spaces. Yesterday, we inaugurated Mobile Heroes of Change, and I happen to be on the governing council.
And I was sitting there, I was tempted to ask them when they introduced the corporate leader of Lone Star Cell. All men. I was tempted to say, so what do we mean? You know? But for us, this space is a space created for women to come and talk about their issues. We got something in our foundation called the Godly Gentleman Academy, and it's all men. If you are around, depending on what you do, we invite you to accompany us to Lima. The only reason why I can go is because I am the president. But all of our facilitators are men, and we're training young men to be men of integrity. So the last time they were in the same room for 4 days, learning how to tie, learning how to etiquette on the table, how to be, and we had Bishop Bella, we had Chief of Staff. So we do segregated work in order for them to come together and make a whole. But for this, it's called the Feminist Lecture Series, and it's about intergenerational conversation. We can be afterwards. We come afterwards. That you can challenge me afterwards, okay? But you don't take all my time in the room yet.
Hello to everyone. I have a question and it goes to the Queen Mother.
The Queen.
Royal Highness.
Okay, talk about creating opportunities for. So my question is, how can you create opportunity when there's no room for opportunity in your society?
How can you say there is no opportunity? All you have is space and opportunity. Space and opportunity is all you have. You don't have to have money, you don't have to have, it's not about wealth. It's about what it is that you love to do. And what it is that you love, you can create anything that you want to do. And you'll be surprised how you will find someone to fund that because to see your passion in it. So I don't want anyone to leave this room thinking there are no opportunities. Liberia is a space of opportunities. So please know that you have a place in this space. So find your space.
Yeah, and to that point, one of the things that from a young age, my mother has always said to me, if there's a will, there's a way. And sometimes you don't know how those opportunities are going to present itself. I know it seems like it's easier for us to say it, but there are certain things in life that up here we've been able to achieve, and when people ask like how you did it, it's only by the grace of God. And for example, I mentioned earlier that I started a new endeavor, and 2 months ago, I sat down, I had this plan with somebody, we talked about it, and the main project for the new company that we started, it came by helping someone cut off their car was on fire. And I simply took the fire extinguisher from my car and helped them cut their car off. And the guy's so grateful, thankful. 2 months later, he's the reason that my new company got its first contract. So sometimes the way that other people come into your life, just being around, just being present, just being a help to somebody that you don't know how it's going to come back to you. Cast your bread upon the water. Whatever comes back to you comes back to you. But the universe, God is always working. And being in the business space, I'm always looking for people to work who are committed. And I also set my mindset in a way that sometimes this is not going to be, my business isn't going to be someone's resting place, it can be somebody's stepping stone.
Yes.
So if you have an idea, for example, you want to start your own business, you want to do your own thing, you have to look for some way to get that seed money. Whether it's working and saving, it's not like it's going to fall in your lap. If you don't have any assets, going to the bank to go get a loan, it's not going to happen. But sometimes just that little work that you do, someone can buy into your dream just by that time that you spend sharing it with other people. So don't lose hope. Continue to have faith that it's going to work out.
And
And I want to add to that that sometimes opportunity presents itself when you ask questions. A lot of young people, we have in our mind the ideas, and when we walk into spaces, we just want to walk up and say, this is my idea, let's do it. No. Sometimes we have to ask questions. Is this what we need at this time? And someone will tell you, no, we don't need this, but we need this. And you have to be willing to put your hand to working at that, what in that moment. So when you ask questions, like for example, this is a big room, a lot of people will get up and they'll walk out once we're done. There's so many people here that you can walk up to and ask questions. What are you into? Like, what do you do for a living? As you ask these questions, you're presenting the opportunity to not just learn more about people, but to also share your ideas and present things to them that they might be interested in investing in. So that's my take. I always ask questions when I'm in spaces with people who I'm not familiar with.
We'll take these two, and then we'll take 1, 2 from here, and then we'll shut it down.
Good evening, John. I'm Bridget Sorella Massager, a student reading environmental science and climate change at the University of Liberia. And I want to say, first of all, thank you, Madam Bowie. I think if I'm not wrong, this is my 4th time encountering you. And just get it to know that God, people follow you in one of those. Yes. And thank you so much for your work. She is my environmentalist, and she thinks as an environmentalist. That's how we think. We don't think what happens today, but we think what will happen in the next years to come. And every other panelist, I'm super proud of you, especially advocates. Super proud of you. Your voice has been heard. No matter what, it comes with conviction, it comes with innovation, and that's what we are lacking in Nigeria. But with God above, we know it will happen. Before we came, there were people, and as we leave, there were still people, there were always people voices coming here. Nobody can make your voice not to be heard, especially for me. It's almost like waking up, like something on the drum out of me. It's not easy. You will be shot down by people, but don't give up. Because before we came, Jesus Christ said for victory. So I'm willing to be betrayed at all times because of taking exams.
Thank you. Okay, so if you can use your voice, I come to you. Oh, let me take her and Nula, she's been up for a while.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juliet B. Brown, and my question goes to Her Highness. Serving as a leader for the Continental University, what three challenges have we faced with the youth, and what solution can you provide for us to know in solving these problems or challenges?
Thank you. We'll take the other two. Welcome, Honorable Mensa. Would I want to see this prayer for you?
Good evening to all. My name is Konto Tam. I serve as the Deputy Executive Director for Administration at the National Disaster Management Agency. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with all of you. You are on point. The small day. But never give up. Women, always believe in yourself. Have a self-confidence. Always speak out and speak the truth. But this is going back. Trust God. Because with God, all things are possible. Don't you never look at them. Don't look at them. Because God got your back. Nobody can do anything. And that's why that has carried me. It has led me to be who I am today. And I'm always going to push all of women, all potential women that have the heart to make a difference in the society. And we will make it. Nobody can stop me.
Question?
Yes, I'm Hermes. Hello everyone, my name is Sata F. Sherry, and I'm a student. So there's this question that has been walking in my chest peace work first before feminine. But there are other women who believe that it's feminine first before maybe like work and stuff like that. And there's a lot of conversation around like the feminist side of the conversation and the feminist side. So my question basically is, how do you navigate the divide or that gap between there are people who just want to be traditional homemakers, but they also, consider themselves as like feminine women and stuff like that. And there are other women who believe, for example, he said, I want to be an independent woman. I don't want to depend on a man to support me. And that divide is that the woman who considers herself as like, I want to be a homemaker, meaning she's 100% depending on her husband to provide, because the Bible says men and stuff like that. So like, how do you navigate that divide? And as a young woman, honestly, like, what do you encourage? Is there a healthy balance so you can stay? I want to be, depending on my husband to provide everything. And then on the other hand, I want to be this independent woman. But then again, there are other people who feel okay, maybe because there are women who intentionally. You know what I mean?
I get you. Okay, so we'll take if you point to any more questions, yes, your 3 challenges and how are you navigating it?
Thank you. Hi, Howard. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. How's the day? Very good. I'm going to start with what you said about time management. That's a huge challenge for me. I have no time and I don't manage it well. Like you, the only day I take off is my birthday. That's a national holiday. No one messes with that. So that's what I do. Time management is such a challenge, and I try to tell my students to always make time for themselves. And it's bad just because I want to spend so much time with them, but I can't because I always have to go looking for money or opportunities for them. And that is something I have to work on. Time management, that's a huge challenge. Another thing that I tell the students, and it is a challenge for them, is silence, especially the females. They do not like to speak up. And it's something, and they will come to my office, oh, Tom, you're such a mentor. No, but I'm not hearing you. If I'm mentoring you, I want you to be out there saying something. So it's a challenge to get them to speak. Even in the auditorium when we're having programs, you see the guys come up and want to say something, and I'm like, I want to hear you. I want to hear my girls. So it's a challenge for, and I think this is a side thing for Liberia. And it's so glad to see these young women coming up and having a voice. There's something called the silent generation. We do not want to be the silent generation. We want to be a generation that has a voice, that's powerful. And you have an image. Do I say it again? Greatness is in you. Go out and be great. That's it. Those I'm going to have 3. Those are my 2 things: is time management and just people learning how to speak up for themselves, especially females. Embrace the time that you have. We do not have, this is now. This the saying that goes like yesterday is gone, tomorrow you don't know what's happening, today is the present. Be present in this time. This is your time. Take up your voice. Let it be as loud as you can. It does not mean you have to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
You do not have to be disrespectful. You just have to say what you need to say. Be confident on who you are. You are wonderfully and perfectly made in His image. Go out and represent that.
Excellent. I mean, just back to that silence, one of the things that I've recognized in my life is that sometimes us as African women feel like when we go into diverse spaces, we have to be humble, we have to be submissive, we have to be whatever we have to be. And a few years back, Justin Trudeau appointed me the Prime Minister of Canada as one of his advisors on the G20 when Canada was supposed to be Madam, I'm So we kept on this meeting and we spent the entire day working on a document to present to the Prime Minister. And we worked. The next day we were supposed to do this presentation. We walked into the room and someone said, oh no, his level of absorption
right now is a bit low. So whatever we are presenting to him, it has to be minimal. We spent whole night working on a document. He telling me we need to summarize that document to one paragraph to read it to him. And everyone else in the room was sitting looking. And I told them no. And they were looking at me like, are you kidding me? One of the generals in the army just looking and said, no, I am not going to do this. I'm reading this entire document to the Prime Minister, and he knew his absorption level was low. You are not supposed to invite us here. So he came into the room. Little did I know the entire time he's sitting in a green room and watching everything on screen. So I started reading. Then they get the paper. 2 minutes, I still reading. 1 minute, I still reading. 0 minute in my heart, I say, if I answer you, the minute you give from 1 0 minute, I still reading, and I finished reading everything, and I said, if anyone else in this room want to summarize, they are free to summarize. But Mr. Prime Minister, do you know what day it is today? He said, no, Lehman. I said, today is the day that my daughter is doing a recital in New York. I left it to be here. Then one of the women said, one of the women said, oh, well, Mr. Prime Minister, as you will know, that you invited a lot of troublemakers here from the cabinet. And he said, by troublemaker, you are referring to Lehman. And she said, yes. He said, let me say something in this room. I personally called her to join this committee because I knew that if nobody would say to my face what I need to hear, she would be that person. Yes. And in that moment, I was like, let her call me troublemaker. But I will always use my voice. Because as women, if we fail to use our voices and try to tiptoe, sometimes we go in places and my team will say, oh, if we get a speech online for you, I can't. These are their country like Europe, but we need to use our voices. But let me come back to your question about the feminine balance of, I have one grandmother who was Martha Rambo. Martha died at the age of 115. She was a housewife, but she controlled her own money. She died and left a will, even though she stopped in free. I get no man her name Rachel. My pa was more educated, more traveled, more open. But you can never say that. What we mean? And she was a homemaker. But he wasn't the one controlling the purse. When God was on the water, she built it from scratch. So when we finally built a house in Pinsville, he said he took the challenge to build that house because for years he lived in that house on the water, and he always felt that this is a house that was built by my wife. So the first thing is a housewife doesn't necessarily mean that you get money to control. Some housewives, they have their petty businesses and all of the different things, and they control the economy of the home. But let's come back to the feminine side, or the feminist side, or whatever you want to say. I'll give my life as an example. It was a choice that I made, that I would be more involved in my field than I would be in raising children. I was blessed to have a mother and a sister who was willing to step in and play that role. But I wouldn't ever have it, I couldn't have it another way. Life is about choices. And most times I get this question when I go to speak at university around the world from young women, can you have it all? And that was what you were asking. No. You will either be a housewife, or you cannot chase your dream 100% whilst focusing on the family, the husband, unless you have a husband who is 100%, and I think God said creating you. Because I tell you for a fact that every man will say, oh, I'm for women's empowerment, until it comes down down to the wire where you have you are powerful. And then they have to be in your shadow. It's a very difficult thing for any man, including all of the men that say they are liberal. I had a conversation with one of my friends recently. He said to me, being your husband, anybody being your husband, the man your husband, being your husband is a very difficult thing. Because we walk into spaces and my husband, people will call him, hello, Mr. Bowie. Can I hear him? Hey, Mr. Fatoma. My brand is Bowie. I choose to keep my last name, not to carry my husband's last name. But that is a serious one. You have to decide if you want to be the best there is to be. Go and ask all of the women that have achieved every big thing in this world. They will tell you that the biggest problem they had was, yes, their husbands were accommodating in the beginning, but it came to a particular point, it became problematic for them. So they had to make either the painful choice of going back home to be a housewife or staying there and just navigate whatever they were able to navigate. Well, my darling, if anyone ever tells you you can have it all, tell them they're not going to say that will lie. Because even as you sit here, there are moments that you're missing. Try to do the thing. I got to go on prayer line with my 15-year-old because she's going to take one French test that she's nervous about. But I can't be there to hold her hand. So, but the first part is, don't ever mistake that stay-at-home moms are dependent on their husbands. It is not always the case. Let me
also ensure being a feminist in no way means that you're not. Just because you're a feminist doesn't mean that you're not a female. You can be a female and be a feminist. So let's not mistake those two things.
There is always this misconception that feminists don't get married. Feminists are lesbians. Feminists carry rasta. Feminists are just. Let me talk about the misconception. So on a lot of the young people will and say, oh no, I'm not feminist, so me I won't marry. You have never encountered that. Yes. Or when you're a woman leader, your husband, if you marry, you want your tongue, or you give a hug, they're suffering you, but you can't pass. They have your whole conference in that package, it's very much conference. So I think it's about time that we think about it, but let's go back to our panel for one last round. Leadership. What can you all say to women out there, even to men? Because I still see Wayne is a little bit, I see him having a heated argument, but he will not back down. Y'all know a pineapple, I got eyes all over my body, I've been focusing on my hand and be looking dead. She will not back down because there are still young men in this country who feel that we shouldn't have women-only spaces, or it is not correct for us to have a panel that we said are key because we're talking about equity and inclusivity. But why don't we have a man on this panel and we don't apologize for anything? I tell people I don't. I'm a feminist, no if, no personal, however, whatever. You take me as you see me. You know, and it doesn't mean that I will disrespect you, suppress or oppress you. Tomorrow you can have your own space, I will kind of also men and talk. I will still be comfortable to ask questions with all the men. The point that I want to make with all of you, how y'all are great girls, women. How do you advise other young women who have to deal with all of this? I remember going to one thing where they had young leaders in Liberia, the other was saying, Madam Bowie, you keep referring to Jesus. Even Comrade Jesus, he referred to Jesus as his comrade. Even Comrade Jesus said that women should be subject to men. And I told him, I said, and Comrade Jesus respected the women and gave them the spaces to do. So that thing when you put in that comrade, you know, not the comrade I know. So how do you navigate, or what advice would you offer? Because this is, we wrap it down now. Ethel, what advice would you give to? She said, you gotta stop it. Girl!
There you go.
And Vic,
I got my marching order. Yeah. That's what you get when you be raising powerful small children. What would you say to young girls who want to be virtuous? And what will you tell them? A leader, a voice, what will you tell them?
I'll be honest and tell them that they should believe in themselves. Because if you do not believe in yourself, you cannot make somebody believe in you. And that would mean you should have, I think it was, as I will talk about integrity. I think it's one thing that we really need to look out for as we are leading, to have integrity, pay attention to our character, because if somebody sees you as a leader, they kind of reflect you a little bit. So how you ensure that you stand up for something that is right and ensure that that thing is the rightful thing to do in a society, I think is something I'll let the young people know, that they can believe in themselves, they can stand up for themselves, they can have their character and integrity intact, they can list up all of these things, because sometimes it's like, what you want proof? Everybody's going to say, now you the who? And when they start to say those things, you get to turn like, you want to join them, but I think if you're a principle-minded person, you stay who you are, it can be a one against all of them, but I think they also respect that you stand up for something. So yes, you should believe in yourself, and you should also, stand up for something as in a person of integrity, having the principle and the values, and actually standing for them.
Thank you, Vic. Tibor, a few weeks back, I wrote something, and I want to read that. And ask your take on it, and actually I will take it to give me your take on it. And this is about Liberia, a nation that fails to prioritize moral values and the principles of integrity and justice will have their discourse driven by murderers, their children mentored by thieves and crooks as their celebrities.
Wow. So, Victor and I were having a conversation before the event started, and it followed this exact trend of, I think a lot of times we live in a generation and in a country that a lot of people have lost hope. And they don't outrightly say to you, like, oh, I don't believe that I can achieve this. But you see from those that they glorify, they say when you're trying to introduce a new order, the only people that are for that new order are those who succeeded in it, but those who have succeeded in the old order, meaning people have already sat in certain positions, they've already benefited from the way that things are, from status quo. So it's true, but what can we do to change the narrative? And two things, negative reinforcement works the same way that positive reinforcement works. The way that we shame people and viciously attack people for saying what can be interpreted to be the right thing at times, I think we need to also do that for people who say the wrong thing. Like coming on to tell somebody that they're a disgrace to womanhood, it should not be something that as a society we sit and let happen. Women being attacked, people being attacked in the street is not something we should sit and let happen. And all power is inherent within the people. We have to understand that in ourselves, even what's going on now with policies that people are making, how it affects us, the right way of going about it. So how can we adjust, how can we change? And each one of us has a part to play in it. When you get on your phone and you get on Facebook and you say that hurtful thing, understand that you're saying it to a human being. When you get on Facebook and you say something that is ignorant and you know that you're saying it, and it's against someone's, or talking about committing bodily harm against somebody, know that we're responsible for those things and hold other people accountable in your community. Hold the people accountable. Don't have somebody in your family that's doing the wrong thing and clap for them because they're in your family. We need to start prioritizing truth, like you said, and integrity. So the moment that we take that as our individual burdens as citizens of this nation to do, the better it gets for the society at large.
Guru, do you want me to read it again?
No. I think I agree with what T-Bone said, but I'd also like to add that there are a lot of cowards in this world. I think a lot of people are walking around in fear of what other people will think when they speak their mind or when they stand up against something that's wrong. The other day we were with our uncle and there was a little girl who was pushing another child consistently. The the child was already crying, she kept hitting him. And all the adults around were looking at that happening and no one said anything. And my uncle said, why do you keep hitting him? He's already crying, stop it. And the moment he said that, she stopped. And everyone on this panel has echoed the need for people to have a voice, but I think there's a need for people to tap into the courage that they have inside of them. There's a need for people to look within and understand that sometimes it takes you stepping up and standing up and speaking, but sometimes it takes you stepping up and actually acting. If she wasn't going to stop hitting that child, I have no doubt he would have stepped in and pulled her away from him. Sometimes we think as Liberians we are powerless. There's a lot of stigma that's attached to Liberia, war, poverty, trauma. So many things are attached to Liberia. I've been in places where people say to me, I've never met a Liberian, or they say to me the counter thing, you're a Liberian girl, I've heard about Liberian girls, and they give me this huge smile. And for me, that can be demoralizing, but there's also a part of me that looks at them and say, I'm not that Liberian you're thinking about. That history might be my history, and it's made me who I am, but I have the courage to step into spaces wherever in this world and be who I am and speak truth about what I believe about this world and what needs to happen. There's courage that is required for every single Liberian in this country to do what is right, not just at the political level, but also in your communities, in your families. When people are being hurt in your families, you speak out and you speak up. You don't just sit back. So that's my answer.
And as Paul was talking, I just came back again from this board meeting, this board event, and everyone's asking for her. Where is your daughter? Where is your daughter? And the reason why they were asking for her is because she's a troublemaker. So the head of Moderna, the COVID-19 company, is our board chair. And so one day we go to breakfast and he's sitting there, all of his children MIT doctors. His wife is a doctor, his son, his daughter, they all have real high profile jobs across the world. And he starts to talk about his theory of life and different things, and these young people, you can see from their faces that they didn't really agree with their dad, but they were just shaking their heads and shaking their heads. And then she said, excuse me, Mr. Luba, I don't agree with you. And you see the shock on their faces, even me. And he said, so why don't you agree with me? Okay, 1 hour later, because I didn't go to school, I understand everything he taught me. But from that day, she became his favorite. And the reason why I bring this story into this room is because sometimes, back to the silence, back to the voice, back to the power that we all have within us, we may be sitting in front of powerful people. Until we use our voice, those powerful people will never really know that we too have some power. And if you step outside, the general narrative about Liberians is not as beautiful as we think. And so the ones with the positive views, the positive attitude, the positive mindset, the ones who can go out there and make us shine, I think it's very important for us to push. And on that note, Etta, what would be your take? What would you tell any girl who's running to be president for her high school as you are vice president? And I assure you, you'll be going for the presidency. You pushing for it or you tired? No, you are speaking. I didn't hear that.
I am pushing for that.
So what would you tell a girl who is too afraid to push to be president of her high school?
I would say that even me, I was afraid to go as vice president. It was my teacher that supported me to run as vice president. And I noticed that in that field, there was also men. There used to be male that were running for vice president in the school. And there wasn't female running as vice president. So I wanted to set that record in the school and be the first female vice president for my campus. And to my surprise, I won a word about it and I didn't have any question mark on me. I was qualified for that position. What I would say to those running to be president is that don't give up on yourself. Always be you, be authentic, don't be like nobody. You can't copy anybody's style. It's just your own style you need to create. So being, or you want to run for vice president or president role, go for what you intend to go for. See that your voices need to be heard and people need to see you and see you as a role model too. And you should be an encouragement to others running to be president, all those females. It will be such an inspiring thing.
Thank you. And her president of 133 years of a university, what will you tell your little self? A small Romel girl in Debbie Harris uniform, running up and down Broad Street with a pigtail.
Exactly. You know, I've always been very shy. If you know my brother, mouth almighty, tongue everlasting. Let me tell you, when my mom is around, you know my mom is around. And so because my mother always had this big personality, I was always a very shy person. So that's how it's so good now to be able to speak up. And what I want you all to also understand besides speaking up is also to own your space. Walk into any space and know you belong there. Anywhere you go, walk into that place. I went to Buckingham Palace to meet I call the Queen my grandmother. I went to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen. And I walked in there, and this guy said to me, I was dressed in my African, I'm not even joking, said, I was suited. He said, are you a queen from some African country? I said, yes. You have to own a space. The same thing, I was in Botswana for an event. They were having their 40th anniversary at the cathedral, and everybody, they had all, the president was there, everyone was there, and I walked into that space. Once again, suiting. Y'all know that women here. You can't be playing with a suiting. I walked into that place. See, the people forgot it. The dignitaries and the representative didn't know I was just a PhD student. They didn't know I was just a student. And everybody's coming watching me. Who she is. And into the point, the bishop himself, he had a gun. He said, yes, that's her royal majesty. So please. Because the people forgot what we were doing and just kept. So you have to own your space. Anywhere you go, know that you belong there. Don't let anybody take that away from you. You belong there. So hold your head up high and walk into that space. Have that voice. Bring that greatness that is in you. When it comes to leadership, do not think that you are too big to do anything, because you are not. Remember, you came from somewhere. And those same people you met on your way up, you will meet them on your way down. So treat them with respect. And always remember that no one person, no one idea, no one policy can make it work. It takes all of us working together to make it work. Together, we win. So don't think because you're a leader that it's all about you. No, it's not about you. It's about the team that you surround yourself with who are making you look good. So treat everyone with respect. Ensure you have integrity and be the great person that you can be. Greatness is in you. Go out and be great.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. Leadership in Liberia, looking at this panel, looking in the room at the young people that I've engaged with. I have hope for this nation. We're not going to remain where we are. We have to think from mediocrity and small things. A time is coming where we will have to choose between greatness and greatness, not mediocrity and mediocrity. Thank you for coming. We are serving small snacks. Have it, mingle, interact with people, get to know people, and again, we're looking for one research assistant. If you know you have the time and you can write, please go back there and write your name. And then if you know any one girl in Home County who is willing to go for our Feminist Policy Lab training, it's between 9 months to a year, let her come. We're going to Lofa, so if you know of young, especially disabled child in Lofa, recommend it to us. And then the Kala tree is coming while I'm still talking. Thank you all very much. Have a nice evening.